taking advantage of another day to talk about a simple life, about this idea that seems absurd when you say it out loud, but that might be the smartest decision you can make. There's a man who lived more than 150 years ago who understood this in a way most people still don't understand today. His name was Henry David Thoreau, and in 1845 he did something everyone thought was insane. He went to live in a simple cabin near a lake, with almost nothing, just to discover what was truly essential to live well. And look, he wasn't running away because he'd failed in life. He wasn't angry at the world. He was testing a hypothesis. Does having less bring more freedom than having more? The answer he found should change everything we think about happiness and success. Because the truth is, we spend our entire lives accumulating things we don't need, chasing goals we didn't really choose, proving our worth to people we barely know. And in the middle of all this rushing around, we forget to ask the most basic question. What exactly am I doing all this for? Why am I running so hard? Where am I going? And most importantly, who decided that's where I should be going? But before diving into what Thoreau discovered, I need to talk about the place where you are right now, about this trap we're all stuck in without realizing it. Modern life has a very subtle way of sucking your attention, your time, your energy, and making you believe this is normal, that everyone lives like this, so it must be right. Think with me. You wake up in the morning, and what's the first thing you do? You grab your phone. Before you even feel your own body waking up, you're already absorbing notifications, messages, emails, other people's problems. Your mind hasn't even properly awakened, and it's already being bombarded with dozens of external demands. And this seems so normal, so automatic, that we don't even question it anymore. But is it really normal? Is waking up and the first thing you do being to dive into other people's problems healthy? Does this serve you, or do you serve it? During breakfast, if you even have time for that, you're already planning the entire day, rehearsing conversations that are still going to happen, solving problems that might not even exist, anxious about meetings that are still hours away. Your mind can't stay quiet, can't simply be there, tasting the coffee, hearing the morning sounds. It's already racing toward the future, trying to control things that don't exist yet. And making a simple analogy, it's like trying to hold water with open hands. The more you try to control what hasn't happened yet, the more it slips through your fingers, the more anxiety you create. In traffic, more information consumption, podcasts, music, news, anything to fill that space that could be silence, contemplation. But we're terrified of silence because it brings uncomfortable questions, thoughts we've been avoiding. At work, that avalanche, emails that never stop, meetings that could be emails, demands that always seem urgent, but you don't even know if they're truly important. And you're stuck in that cycle of always being busy, but never knowing if you're doing what really matters. And at night, when you get home exhausted, even relaxing has become cognitive work, because now you need to choose between thousands of series, dozens of platforms, infinite options. You scroll through the feed, scroll through the options, spend 20 minutes deciding what to watch. And when you finally choose something, you're left with that feeling that maybe you should be watching something else, that you're wasting time, that there's always something better you're not seeing. And deep down, what you really wanted was simply to rest, but even that has turned into another task, another decision, another source of anxiety. And in the middle of all this, when was the last time you stopped and truly felt that you're alive? When did you experience that rare sensation of simply being present, without running from anything and without fleeing from anything? The truth is, we live on autopilot. Wake up, work, consume, sleep, repeat. And there's a part of us that knows something's wrong with this, that feels a strange emptiness even when we get everything that should make us happy. But we ignore that feeling because everyone around us is doing the same thing, so it must be normal. It must be just the way it is. But is it? Does the fact that everyone's stuck in the same trap make the trap any less real? Thoreau looked at the people around him in 1845 and saw exactly this. And pay attention, because this is fascinating. There was no internet, there were no smartphones, there was none of this stuff we use as an excuse today. But the basic trap was already there, functioning. people working more and more to buy increasingly unnecessary things. He observed exhausted men, trapped in jobs they hated, maintaining enormous houses that didn't need to be that big, accumulating objects that only generated more work. And here's the thing. If the trap already existed 150 years ago, without modern technology, then maybe the problem isn't the smartphone or Netflix. Maybe it's something deeper in the way we organize life, in the way we define success, in the way we measure value. And he had the courage to ask a simple but revolutionary question. What if I remove everything that's superfluous and live only with the essential? What's left? What's truly necessary for a good life? So he went. He went to Walden Pond, built a small cabin with his own hands, planted what to eat, and lived with almost nothing for 2 years. And I keep thinking about the courage that requires. I'm not talking about physical courage, I'm talking about philosophical courage, of looking at your own life and questioning everything you've always accepted as truth. It's much easier to complain that life is complicated, but keep doing everything the same way, than to have the honesty to ask, could it be that I'm the one complicating things? Could it be that I can choose differently? And you know what he discovered living that way? That the minimum was more than enough. That simplicity wasn't giving up, it was freedom. That the less you need, the freer you are. This might sound like a cliche, but it carries a profound truth that most people never understand. We've been conditioned to believe that more is always better, that accumulating is progressing. But what if it's the opposite? What if each thing you add to your life, instead of freeing you, traps you a little more? What if happiness isn't in reaching the next level, but in finally accepting that you already have enough? Now, I want you to stop for a second and ask yourself, what do I really need? Not what society says you need, not what your parents expected you to have, not what your friends have and you feel you should have too, but what you, deep down, when you're alone at night before sleeping, really need to be happy. And here's the inconvenient truth. It's much less than you think. It's much less than they made you believe. Think about everything you own. Every object in your house carries an invisible weight. That couch you bought and barely use, it doesn't just occupy physical space, it occupies mental space. You need to clean it, maintain it, worry about it. When someone spills something, you get anxious. When you see a scratch, you get irritated. Is it your relationship with the couch, or is the couch controlling you? That car in the garage, it's not just the price you paid when you bought it. It's the insurance that drains hundreds every month. It's the expensive maintenance every 6 months. It's the fuel that seems to never end. It's the constant worry about it being stolen, scratched, hit. It's the daily stress of traffic that leaves you tense before you even get to work. Do you own the car, or does the car own you? Those piles of clothes in the closet that you haven't worn in months, maybe years, they occupy a space that could be empty, light, peaceful. And you still need to organize them, decide what to do with them, feel that guilt every time you look, and remember the money you spent. And the inconvenient truth is that each thing you own demands something from you in return. It demands attention, time, energy, money, worry. The things we own end up owning us. Thoreau said this over a century ago, and the more I live, the more I understand the weight of that phrase. At first, you buy something because you want it, because you believe it's going to improve your life somehow. There's that moment of pleasure in the acquisition, that momentary satisfaction of having gotten something new. But then, without noticing the transition, you become a servant to it. The big house demands constant cleaning that takes up your entire weekend. The car demands maintenance that consumes your time and money. The clothes demand organization that you always postpone. The electronics demand updates, repairs, replacements when they become obsolete. And suddenly, you don't have truly free time anymore. You only have time to maintain the gigantic inventory you've accumulated. You're no longer the owner of your life. You've become the manager of a store of things you bought yourself. And here's a way of thinking about this that changed my perspective. The real cost of anything isn't the money price you pay. It's the lifetime you trade for it. Thoreau had this deep understanding. He measured everything in hours of life. Before buying something, he did a simple but revealing calculation. How many hours do I need to work to earn enough money to buy this? And then came the crucial question: is it worth trading these specific hours of my only existence for this object? When you do that calculation honestly, without deceiving yourself, the answer most of the time is no. It's not worth it. Think about it with me. You work 8, maybe 9 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week, to earn money to pay for an apartment you barely enjoy because you spend most of your time working to pay for it. You leave home at 7 in the morning, come back at 8 at night, and the apartment you worked so hard to have has basically become just a place to sleep. It's an absurd, vicious circle when you stop to look at it from the outside. You work to have a place you don't have time to enjoy because you're working to have it. You buy expensive brand-name clothes to impress people at social events you don't even like attending, but go because you feel you should, because it would be weird not to go because everyone goes and you don't want to be left out. And you spend hours of your life working to pay for these clothes that you wear to impress people who deep down don't even care that much about you. And when you're wearing these clothes at these events, you're not even really having fun. You're just fulfilling a social role, doing what you think you should be doing. You stick with a job you hate, that drains you, that makes you wake up every Monday with that weight in your stomach, because you need to maintain a standard of living that, when you're honest with yourself on a sleepless night, doesn't bring you real happiness. You have the house, you have the car, you have the clothes, you have the electronics, but are you happy? Do you feel like you're living or just surviving? Are you doing what you want or what you think you should want? It's a sophisticated prison that you built yourself brick by brick, purchase by purchase, decision by decision, without realizing what you were doing. And here's the part that can change everything if you have the courage to face it. The key to that prison is in your hand all the time. It always has been. You just need the courage to use it, to open the door and leave, even if people look at you sideways, even if they judge, even if they don't understand. Because at the end of the day, it's your life, not theirs. It's your time that's passing, not theirs. And there's another aspect to this that's even more subtle, but equally important. We live in a culture of excessive choices, and this is exhausting in a way we don't always notice. Have you noticed how tiring it is to decide anything nowadays? You open Netflix to relax after a tiring day, and it takes 20-30 minutes just to choose what to watch. You keep scrolling through the options, reading synopses, watching trailers, changing your mind. And when you finally choose something, you watch with half your attention because you keep thinking whether you shouldn't be watching something else, whether you're wasting time, whether there's something better there that you didn't see. You go to the supermarket to buy simple coffee, and there are 30 different brands on the shelf: whole bean coffee, ground coffee, instant coffee, light roast, medium roast, dark roast, organic, traditional, special, single origin, blend. How does someone decide between all this? How do you know which is the right choice? And you stand there, blocked, spending precious mental energy on a decision that should be simple. You want to buy a shirt and discover there are thousands of models available online, hundreds of colors, dozens of styles, various brands. You spend hours researching, comparing prices, reading reviews, and in the end, you're still unsure if you chose right, if you shouldn't have researched more. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon and given it a name: the paradox of choice. The counterintuitive discovery is that the more options you have, the harder it is to decide, and the less satisfied you are with what you chose. It seems like it should be the opposite, that more options should bring more freedom and satisfaction. But that's not how it works. More options mean more anxiety about making the wrong choice, more regret afterward, more feeling that there's always something better you missed. Thoreau understood this over a century ago, long before any formal study. He realized that excess options don't liberate, they paralyze. So he did something radical. He reduced his choices to the absolute minimum. A few simple, functional clothes that worked for any occasion, a few basic belongings that were truly useful, a few social obligations that actually made sense to him, a few commitments that didn't drain his energy without bringing real value. And you know what happened when he did this? His mind became free. Truly free, not that freedom advertising sells. free to think deeply about questions that mattered, free to create, to write, to observe, free to simply be present without the mind always jumping to the next decision, to the next worry, to the next problem. He didn't spend mental energy deciding what to wear in the morning or planning what to eat for dinner. These decisions were automatic, simple, quick, and this freed up an absurd amount of cognitive space for what really had value. When you truly simplify, you don't lose anything that's important. You gain space. Mental space for creativity to emerge, emotional space to process what you feel, temporal space to do what you like, space to simply be without having to do or produce or consume. Simplicity doesn't limit you like culture wants to make you believe. It frees you from invisible chains you carry without realizing it. But we live immersed in a culture that obstinately sells another story. They tell us from childhood that happiness is always at the next level, in the next salary that will give you security, in the next car that will give you status, in the next house that will give you comfort, in the next achievement that will give you satisfaction. It's an illusion that never ends because the goal moves every time you think you've reached it. Because no matter how much you have, there will always be more. There will always be someone with more money, more status, more recognition, more followers, more of everything, and you chase after it, increasingly exhausted, increasingly anxious, thinking that when you finally reach that specific level, when you get that thing that's missing, you'll finally feel complete, fulfilled, at peace. But that moment never truly comes. You reach the goal you pursued so hard, you have a few days or weeks of superficial satisfaction, and then the feeling of incompleteness returns, the restlessness comes back, and you look to the next level, and the race begins again. It's a treadmill that accelerates more and more, and you never get anywhere. Thoreau saw this pattern and created a phrase that's simultaneously simple and devastating. Most people live lives of quiet desperation. They're trapped in routines they hate but continue because they don't know how to get out. They're fulfilling social roles they never consciously chose, but that were imposed by family expectations, social pressures, cultural norms. They're pursuing goals that don't truly satisfy them, but that seem to be what they should be pursuing. There's a compliment that expands this reasoning in the pinned comment, especially about breaking away from the patterns that most people follow. And they do all this out of fear, deep and paralyzing fear of seeming like failures in others' eyes, fear of disappointing parents who invested so much in them, fear of stepping out of the socially accepted line and being judged, criticized, excluded, fear of falling behind while everyone around them is apparently progressing, growing, winning. But where are they progressing to? Growing in what direction? Winning which game exactly? And look, I know this is hard to hear. It's uncomfortable to realize that maybe you're living on autopilot, following a script you didn't choose. But there's a scientific truth in all this that can't be ignored. Rigorous studies in psychology show that after a certain point of annual income, more money simply doesn't bring more happiness. You can double, triple your salary, and after a few months of adaptation, you'll be exactly as satisfied as you were before. Because deep satisfaction doesn't come from having more material things, more social status, more external recognition. It comes from something different, from discovering and accepting enough. And enough is always less than you were conditioned to imagine. Much less. Thoreau lived with so little that people at the time thought it was absurd, worthy of pity. But he was happy, genuinely happy in a way that most of the people around him full of possessions weren't. Not because he objectively had little, but because he had discovered what was enough for him. And when you truly have enough, when you really understand and accept this, something almost magical happens. You become free. Free from the constant anxiety of always wanting more. Free from the envy of seeing what others have and comparing yourself. Free from the fear of losing what you possess. Free from the pressure to impress. You simply are. Simply exist. Simply be. And being, existing, being is the rarest state of modern human existence. We're always going, always doing, always producing, always consuming, but we rarely are, we rarely exist. Now let's talk directly about time, Because at the end of the day, everything comes down to this. Time is the only truly important resource that you absolutely cannot recover. You can earn more money if you lose it. You can make new friends if the old ones drift away. You can change jobs if the current one doesn't work. You can sell the house and buy another. But the time that passed forever. It's over. It never comes back. Every second you live is one irreversible second less that you have. Every minute is unique. Every hour that passes is an hour that will never exist again. And the absurd tragedy of modern life is that we spend a disproportionate majority of our time working to buy things we objectively don't need to be happy, while we chronically neglect what really matters: genuine human connections with people we truly love, physical and mental health that allows us to enjoy life, personal growth that gives meaning to existence, meaningful experiences that create lasting memories, simple moments of peace and contemplation where you just exist without pressure. Thoreau had a brilliant way of calculating the real value of things. He measured everything in hours of life. If an object cost a week of work, he would ask himself seriously, is it really worth trading an entire week of my only existence for this object? A week is 168 hours that will never come back. 168 hours that could be spent reading books that expand the mind, thinking about important questions, writing reflections, walking in nature with full attention, truly conversing with friends about subjects that matter. Is it worth trading all that, all these possibilities, for a simple material object? When you do that calculation honestly, the answer in most cases is no. But we rarely do that calculation before buying. We buy on impulse, moved by advertising, by social comparison, by an internal void we try to fill with objects. And then we work to pay, without ever calculating the real cost in lived life. Think about how many hours you work every month to pay for things you barely use or don't use at all. That expensive gym membership you go to twice a month, if that. How many days did you work to pay for this entire year's membership? And those 2 times a month you go, do you really enjoy it, or do you go in a hurry? Run on the treadmill thinking about work, take a quick shower and rush out to the next appointment. The value you pay isn't just money. It's lifetime converted to money, converted to a promise of health you never really enjoy because you don't have time to enjoy it. That streaming subscription you don't even remember you have because you use another one. How many hours of your life went to pay for something you don't even use? And why don't you cancel it? Because it's only $20, $30 a month and seems insignificant, but $20 a month is $240 a year, and $240 a year for 10 years is $2,400 thrown away on something you don't even use. How many hours of work does that represent? How many days of your life did you sell for absolutely nothing in return? And if you multiply this by all the unnecessary subscriptions, all the services you pay for but don't use, all the objects you buy but don't need, how much of your life are you wasting? That relatively new car that sits idle 90% of the time because you work so much you barely have time to drive anywhere that isn't work itself. How many months, how many years of work did it cost? How many years did you work to put together the down payment? How many years are you working to pay the installments? And the car is sitting there in the garage while you're stuck in the office earning money to pay for it. And when you finally use the car, it's to go to work to earn more money, to keep paying for it. It's almost comical when you stop to look at it from the outside, but it's tragic when it's your life. It's tragic when you realize you're stuck in a cycle where you work to have things you don't have time to use because you're working to have them. Each of these things cost precious hours of your only life, and you're not getting those hours back. There's no refund, there's no return. You traded them for objects, for services, for status, for a vague idea of happiness that never materialized the way you imagined. The simple life is the conscious decision to stop making this insane trade. It's choosing to work less to have truly more free time. It's choosing to own less to have more real freedom. It's understanding that true luxury isn't having everything money can buy. It's having time, abundant and genuine time. Time to be with who you love without hurry. Time to do what you like without guilt. Time to do nothing and be at peace with that. time to simply exist without the constant pressure to produce, consume, accumulate, prove. But society doesn't want you to understand this. Think about it. If everyone woke up tomorrow and realized they already have enough, that they don't need the next phone model, the next car, the next outfit, the next bigger house, what would happen to the economy? To the companies that profit billions selling things nobody truly needs? To this entire system that sustains itself on your perpetual dissatisfaction? It would collapse. That's why there's an entire industry dedicated to making you feel inadequate, incomplete, insufficient. The system depends on you believing you need the next model, even though yours works perfectly. That you need to change cars, even though yours is running well. That you need to buy new clothes, even though your closet is full. And how do they make you believe this? Through sophisticated advertising that studies human psychology, that deeply understands your most primitive fears, your deepest insecurities, your most hidden desires. Companies invest fortunes in research on human behavior, on emotional triggers, on how to make you feel you need something you didn't need 5 minutes ago. They spend billions every year on meticulously crafted campaigns to convince you that you're not enough as you are, that your current house isn't good enough, that your natural body isn't beautiful enough, that your normal life isn't interesting enough, that your car is too old, that your clothes are outdated, that you're falling behind while everyone else is moving forward. They sell aspiration. They sell the promise of being someone better, happier, more successful if you just buy what they're selling. And the magical, convenient, always available solution is in buying the specific product they're selling at that moment. Buy this car and you'll be successful, respected, admired. Buy this outfit and you'll be attractive, desirable, noticed. Buy this phone and you'll be modern, relevant, connected. Buy this house and you'll be happy, fulfilled, complete. It's a sophisticated lie packaged in dazzling images, in emotional music that plays with your emotions, in seductive promises that speak directly to your insecurities. And we believe because we want to believe. We buy because we want it to be true. And then we wonder why we still feel empty, why the promised happiness didn't come with the product, why that internal void continues there asking to be filled with the next purchase, the next achievement, the next object. Thoreau saw this manipulative mechanism clearly and chose to exit the game, not because he was lazy or failed, but because he was smart enough to realize the race made no sense, that the touted prizes were empty, that the only genuine possible victory was not playing by the imposed rules. Living simply is an act of conscious rebellion. It's refusing the social role they gave you. It's saying no to a giant system that wants you anxious, in debt, and obedient. It's recovering your autonomy, your freedom, your own life. And this requires absurd courage because you're going to disappoint expectations. Your parents will ask worriedly why you don't want a bigger house, a better car, a more prestigious job. Your friends will find your choices strange, will think you're weird. Society as a whole will look at you with a mixture of confusion and pity, as if you'd given up on life, as if you'd failed. But the truth is the opposite. You didn't give up. You woke up from a collective dream that was actually a disguised nightmare. And here's something crucial nobody tells you. The definition of success you carry in your head is a social construction, not a universal truth. Big house in a fancy neighborhood, imported car, executive position, extravagant vacations, perfect Instagram photos. Who decided this is success? Where did this definition come from? Who sat down and determined this is the only valid way to live well? Did you decide this after reflecting deeply on your most authentic values? After spending days, weeks thinking about what really matters to you? Or was it society that sold you this ready-made definition since you were a kid, watching television, seeing commercials, hearing adult conversations about who's doing well in life and who isn't, and you simply internalized this without questioning, without realizing you were accepting a script written by other people with other values, other priorities, other definitions of a good life? Thoreau had the intellectual courage to question and redefine success on his own terms, autonomy over his own time, space for deep contemplation, perfect alignment between actions and personal values. He had tremendous success according to these criteria he established himself. But a kind of success most people don't recognize as success because they were culturally conditioned to look in the wrong places, at the wrong metrics, at the wrong goals. True success isn't impressing strangers on the internet with performative achievements. It's living every day according to what you truly value, not what advertising says you should value. And this is different for each person. Each one has a unique combination of values, interests, definitions of a good life. But consumer society doesn't want you to discover your own definition. It wants you to accept the ready-made script: school, college, job, marriage, kids, house, car, retirement, death. And if you dare step out of this human production line, if you question any stage, you're treated as abnormal, as problematic. Thoreau was heavily criticized. They said he was wasting his potential, that someone with his education and intelligence could be important. But he already was important. He was himself. And he had enough courage not to care what people who didn't understand his values thought of his choices. This is exactly the courage that simple living requires. The courage to disappoint. Your parents might genuinely not understand why you don't want the well-paid corporate job they've planned for you since childhood. Your friends might drift away because you no longer fit into their lifestyle. Your family might question your decisions. And you need to be emotionally prepared for that. Because truly, living means living according to your own definitions. And that will disappoint those who expected you to live according to the definitions they have. But there's something deeply liberating in disappointing others' expectations and surviving it. When you stop trying to please everyone, when you stop contorting your life to fit into others' expectations, you finally start truly pleasing yourself. And this isn't selfishness, like they'll accuse. It's maturity. It's understanding you have only one life, one unique existence, and that you can't live it trying to match a script other people wrote for you without consulting you, without knowing your values, without understanding who you truly are. And look, simple living isn't just about owning fewer physical objects. It's about something much deeper and more transformative, removing layers and layers of false constructed identity until you reach the authentic core of who you really are underneath all the social masks you've been accumulating over the years. Because when you stop to think with brutal honesty, a giant part of what we own, what we do, what we consume, what we display, isn't to serve our true essence, our real soul. It's purely, exclusively to project a specific and carefully constructed image, to perform a fabricated identity we think we should have, to impress external observers who actually don't really know us, who don't know who we are when we're alone at home, with no audience watching, with no camera on, with no expectations being projected onto us. Do you buy certain clothes because you really genuinely like them? Because they make you feel good when you look in the mirror alone? Because they express something true about who you are deep down? Or because you want others to think something very specific about you when they see you wearing them? You want them to think you have good taste, that you're fashionable, that you have enough money to buy recognized brands, that you're cool, that you're professional, that you're anything that doesn't necessarily correspond to who you truly are, but is the carefully constructed image you want to project to the world. Do you accept certain jobs because they fulfill you deeply as a person? Because you wake up every day excited to work on that? Because you feel you're doing something meaningful that matters? Or because the position title sounds impressive when you tell people at parties and social events? Because your parents are visibly proud when you say where you work and what you do? Because your college friends will envy your apparent career success, and you'll finally be able to show that you made it too in life, that you didn't fall behind? Do you frequent certain places, restaurants considered sophisticated, recognized social events, because you genuinely like them and have fun there? Because you feel good in those environments? Because there's something in those spaces that resonates with who you are? Or because you want to be seen in these specific places? You want people to know you go there. You want to take photos to post on social media and show that your life is interesting, enviable, worthy of admiration and likes and validating comments. Do you post certain things on social media because they're genuinely important to you, because you want to share something that had real meaning, or because you calculated exactly, consciously or not, what kind of content will generate more engagement, more external validation, more social confirmation that you're doing well in life, according to the standards everyone agreed to follow. Thoreau always asked, "Who am I when I remove everything that's external? When I take off the masks, the performances, what's left?" Many people fear this question because they've spent so much time building a persona, they don't know what exists underneath anymore. But this is the most important journey you can make. Discovering who you truly are, not who you pretend to be, not who others want you to be, but who you are when nobody's watching. And simple living forces this discovery. When you remove the excess, there's nowhere left to hide. There are no more objects to define your identity. There's no more status to validate your existence. Only you remain, and either you find yourself or you lose yourself. Thoreau found himself, and what he found was enough. There's one more thing he understood: the importance of nature, not as a beautiful backdrop, but as a teacher. Nature operates in rhythms that can't be forced. A tree doesn't grow faster because you want it to. A season doesn't arrive ahead of time. And observing this teaches patience, acceptance, presence. Nature also shows scale. When you're in front of a mountain or an ocean, you realize how small you are, how ephemeral your worries are, how life is bigger than your anxieties. Thoreau spent hours observing a lake, a tree, a bird. And this wasn't a waste of time, it was recovery of perspective. Because in the accelerated pace of modern life, we lose the ability to simply be. We always need to be doing something, producing something, consuming something. The idea of just observing seems like waste, but it isn't. It's the opposite. It's the only way to truly see. And nature is available to everyone. You don't need to go to an isolated forest. A park already works. A garden, a square. Any place where you can exit urgency mode and enter presence mode. Because presence is the antidote to modern alienation, and nature is the best place to practice it. But let's be practical now. How do you start simplifying today? You don't need to sell everything and go live in a cabin. Thoreau isn't asking for that. He's asking that you question, that you look at your life and ask, what here truly serves me? And what do I serve without questioning? Start small, but start today. Choose a single room in the house. Look at the objects. Pick up each one and ask 3 honest questions. Do I really use this? Does this bring me joy or serve a clear purpose? If I didn't have this, would my life be significantly worse? If the answer is no, donate it, discard it, free up space. You'll feel the relief immediately because physical space creates mental space, and mental space is where clarity lives. But don't do this automatically. Really pick up each object, feel its weight in your hand. Ask yourself, when was the last time I used this? Why did I buy this? What did I expect this to bring to my life? Did it? And if the answer is no, if that object is just sitting there taking up space, gathering dust, creating that silent guilt every time you look and remember the money you spent, let it go. Donate to someone who needs it. Sell it if it has value, or discard it responsibly. And feel the relief, the lightness that comes when you free up space. Then examine your commitments with the same honesty. Look at your weekly schedule. How many things do you do because you genuinely want to, and how many because you simply think you should? That monthly dinner with family that always leaves you tense, where there's always that person who asks invasive questions. Do you go because you want to, or because it would be a scandal if you didn't? That networking event where you feel uncomfortable making superficial conversations with strangers, pretending interest in empty conversations. Do you go because you genuinely believe it will help you, or because everyone says you should go, that it's important for your career? That favor your friend always asks, and you always say yes, even though you really want to say no, even though you know it will drain you, that it will take time from things that really matter to you. Do you say yes because you want to help, or because you're afraid of seeming selfish, of losing the friendship, of being judged? Start today practicing saying no to what doesn't truly serve you. Not with aggression, you don't need to be rude, but with calm. respectful firmness. A simple "I won't be able to make it this time" is enough. You don't owe detailed explanations, elaborate justifications. Your time is yours. It's the only resource that's truly yours. You don't owe anyone apologies for protecting it. Cancel a subscription you pay for, but don't use. It might seem like little, but start with one. That gym you pay for every month, but go to twice, if that. That streaming platform you don't even remember you have because you use another. That premium app that seemed like a great idea when you signed up, but you never really use. Cancel one today. And feel the relief of having one less worry, one less debit silently draining your account every month. And more important than the money you'll save, feel the sensation of taking back control, of making conscious choices instead of just leaving everything on autopilot. Delete apps that only serve to distract you. That game you open without thinking every time you have a free minute. That social network you scroll endlessly, even without having anything specific you want to see. That news app that bombards you with information that only makes you anxious without you being able to do anything about it. Delete them. It will be uncomfortable the first few days. You'll feel that automatic desire to open the app. You'll grab your phone without thinking and look for the icon that's no longer there. But this discomfort is good. It's a sign you were addicted and are starting to heal, to free yourself. Institute 1 day a week of digital fasting. Choose a day. It can be Saturday. It can be Sunday. And on that day, no phone, no computer, no tablet, no television, no screens. Just you and the real physical world around you. Truly converse with people without having half your attention on your phone. Read a physical book. Walk paying attention to what you see. Cook something without following a recipe on your phone. It will seem strange at first. You'll feel disconnected from the world. But gradually, you'll realize you've never been so connected to what really matters. Practice Thoreau's exercise. Before buying anything non-essential, calculate how many hours of work it will cost. Divide the price by your hourly wage. And honestly ask, is it worth trading these hours of my life for this? Almost always it's not worth it, and you'll save not just money, but something infinitely more precious. Real lived life. And finally, reserve 15 minutes daily for total silence. No background music, no educational podcast, no audiobook, no external stimulus of any kind. Just you, your natural breathing, and the present moment exactly as it is. Sit in a quiet place, close your eyes if it helps, and simply observe your breath going in and out. Don't try to control it, don't try to do it a specific way, just observe. At first, and I guarantee this will happen, your mind will scream, will protest, will bombard you with random thoughts, repressed anxieties, endless lists of pending tasks, worries about the future, regrets about the past. It will be uncomfortable, even irritating. You'll want to quit, grab your phone, turn on the TV, do anything to escape that uncomfortable silence. But don't do that. Keep sitting. Keep observing the breath. Keep present even when the mind screams. Because it's exactly in that uncomfortable silence, in that apparent emptiness that most people spend their entire lives avoiding, that you finally truly find yourself. It's in that pause that clarity eventually appears. It's there, when you stop running and simply are, that you remember what it means to be truly alive, not just functioning on autopilot, but genuinely conscious of your own existence. And gradually, with daily practice, that silence that was uncomfortable begins to become refuge, begins to become the moment of the day you value most. Simplicity isn't a final destination you reach. It's a continuous daily practice. Each conscious choice, each no said with courage, each object let go, each moment of total presence. That's how you build and maintain a simple life. And a simple life is a free life, free from chronic anxiety, free from destructive comparison, free from the senseless race. You won't have more accumulated money, but you'll have more free time. You won't have more social status, but you'll have more inner peace. You won't impress more people, but you'll respect yourself more. And in the end, when you look back, you won't regret the things you didn't buy. You'll regret the time you lost buying things that didn't matter. You won't regret the empty parties you didn't attend. You'll regret the nights you spent exhausted at superficial events instead of being with those you loved. You won't regret having had less. You'll regret not having lived more. Thoreau lived only 44 years, but he lived more than most who reach 80 or 90, because he truly lived, without masks, without performances, without excuses. He made the smartest choice anyone can make. He chose to live with total authenticity, and that choice is available to you now. Not tomorrow when conditions are perfect, not when you have more money, not when you retire. Now, because now is all you really have. And a simple life is the smartest way to honor this unique now. If this talk made you think, if it planted some seed of change, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. We'll see each other in the next video.